Hey, dude, get over here. We got a show to do. What's all that?
I found a giant robot. I'm gonna fix it.
Well, we got a show to do.
But giant robot.
I do dig giant robots, but get over here.
We do dig giant robots. Welcome to Panhead Studios. Today we're talking about the first season of Megas XLR. This show is one of my favorite shows that was on Cartoon Network. I think it was on Toonami. Like at the 2004 is when it came out. And I just was in love with it when I was a kid, and it had 2 seasons and just disappeared, and I never understood where it went. Everyone I knew who watched Toonami, they loved this show.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic show. I love this thing. I still love it.
Yeah, I like not even just like the nostalgia was like I have strong nostalgia for it, but I was still genuinely laughing at a lot of the jokes and realizing a lot more of like the depth of some of the jokes, to where like Jamie and the guy who works at the junkyard.
Yeah.
They constantly make very manly misogynistic comments about women, but they're jokes. They are the butt of a joke. Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I like, especially for 2004, it's really awesome to see that kind of like jokes to like really those kind of characters were, and to have it to where they're not like getting slapped, like they do get beat up and slapped around and stuff. But to where they're not like, it's not like Brock in Pokemon where they pull him away by his ear whenever he's just gushing over a pretty girl.
Yeah.
And how comedic that often is when he's like, when Jamie's doing flirtatious stuff. Like when he talks to Eva and he's like talking about beautiful women and he's swirling into the projection of her screen in like one of the later episodes. It was like episode 9 or something like that.
Yeah. I also just enjoy, like, with him, like, he makes those jokes, but I also find it really funny that, like, every fantasy he has is hysterical. It's always him being this, like, grandiose person surrounded by women, and then it's, occasionally Kiva is serving him, sometimes she's not in it, but every single time, Coop is there, and Coop is some sort of servant and has no hair, or is all of a sudden barely understandable in terms of his ability to speak. Granted, Coop's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he can talk. And he can communicate. Like, there are a couple, like 2 of them, I think, where Coop's just like, and a complete bumbling idiot. And it's funny, like it's hysterical to me.
Well, and I love how that shows like that. Like they I've watched a lot of the script, looked up like I was doing a lot of research on this show, and one of the descriptions I saw that someone had made of the show is it's a fun show to turn your brain off and watch. And it's just like I don't turn my brain off because there's all sorts of little things you miss, like that kind of thing where you're seeing into Jamie's subconscious mind and how he's like inherently jealous of Coop, so he's constantly making Coop less than him because he's just like exactly the same as Coop, except for Coop is successful. He's a championship food guy. He's a mechanic who can fix a robot and pilot it better than someone from the future.
Not just fix a robot from the future.
Yeah, with video game console and all that stuff.
Fantastic. I love his setup. It's ridiculous.
And I'm such like a video game nerd. Like I know every video game console that they're referencing.
Yeah, I know.
I know them all, and how he he controls the robot with all the different sticks, and he's doing like the combos and stuff.
Yeah, the different sticks do different things, and I love how there are times where for him to dodge out of the way instead of like other shows where it just be like you're holding the controls and like twist them or the stick and you turn it. Like there's one where he's got a joystick and he's actually doing like left, up, right. And then you see the robot roll out of it. So I love how, like, even to dodge, he has to do combos. It's not simply just move out of the way. I also find it kind of ridiculous that, like, it's hysterical and I love it, but it's also kind of ridiculous that there are times where the robot just mimics his actions.
Well,
I'm not talking about there is an episode
where he gets in like a simulator and he can matches every movie he makes.
With like that's
a Dance Revolution
ripoff, yeah.
He made it just so he could privately play because people laughed at a fat guy playing Dance.
I know, it's hysterical. I love it. But I'm not talking about that one. Like that one actually they make it make sense. But I'm talking about like there are times where he claps his hands after he beats someone, and the robot does it, and there's no input from him. And it's just little things like that are so much fun.
Well, I also love how he can pilot the robot with just the steering wheel and the gear shift. Like just like how it makes and he's constantly like one of my favorite things that they do in the show is that often you'll see buildings get destroyed and it'll be a conveniently empty building, or when the leader of the Glorf, who are the villains of the show, they're like these weird squid people.
Villains.
Yeah. They show up in the first season. They show up like 5 times, 6 times, and Kiva reacts to them like they're this ferocious force. But Coop just dominates them no matter what they throw at him. Like one of the best episodes is they come out. Well, now we got the death laser, and then Coop had already done something that blows the death laser out of the ship. They're like, all right, go back into null space.
I know.
Like, we're still here. We promise.
Like, I just love how they're such a big threat, and the first time Coop fights them, he wipes their army out.
Yeah. And what the best part is, he's like, oh, we're outnumbered. And he's like, no. He knocks out one of Kiva's drones that she brought with her. Yeah. Now it's fair.
Now it's a fair fight.
and there's one of the episodes where the leader of the Glorf gets knocked into a building that says shrapnel, like explosive shrapnel, and like gunpowder factory, and then he falls into, which just destroys his robot. That scenes like that make me like, it's those little things are the reason why I don't shut my brain off when I watch the shows, because there's those little things that are like totally worth paying attention to and just laughing hysterically at.
Absolutely. I can get where people come from with the turn your brain off, but I feel like you'd be doing yourself a big disservice by doing it.
Yeah.
I think if you've seen the show a ton of times, that's fine. Like both of us.
Watch the show regular.
I know. And I think if you watch it on the regular, that's fine. But if you haven't seen it in a long time, or even if you straight up have never seen this, which if you haven't, you need to stop watching us and go fix that and watch it.
And then come back and
then come back. I think that would be fine to turn your brain off.
Yeah, well, then it's just background noise that you could laugh at the hilarity of the episode while you're playing, if you're one of the people who plays like a video game or something.
Or even if you're just like cleaning your house or something, or just like, I want something on in the background while I, lay down or whatever.
And that's something that's another thing that is just so awesome about the show. Kiva, not only when you see the intro title, she's the first person built. It's that Kiva first, then Jamie, then Coop.
Yeah.
The Coop, the whole hero of the show, is the last one mentioned, and Kiva it's like, I just love how she handles every situation where she's a fish out of water, and they definitely make jokes about that. And she's treated pretty poorly by Jamie and Coop in some ways, even though Coop is more just aloof, where Jamie is straight up misogynistic.
Yeah, Jamie's misogynistic, and Coop does actually get better about how he treats her. Like, the show doesn't have a whole lot of character.
She's making it better. She's constantly forcing him to train and do all this stuff, and then just dumbfounded how he, solves problems and fix things. And one of the things that they do regularly that's kind of annoying but also hilarious, whenever there's some piece of machinery that's vital for a solution in the beginning of the episode, Coop happened to have played with it and destroyed it.
Yeah.
Or didn't know what it was. Like, he turned an EMP missile into a refrigerator because he didn't understand what EMP meant.
Yeah. It still results in his victory, though.
Yeah.
The one piece of machinery he broke that they never fix or figure out how to fix or MacGuffin a way out of it is the time vortex controller.
Yeah, and he didn't know what it was, so he just hit it with a crowbar. That's all he did. This show just makes me laugh so hard with all the just silliness of it.
Oh yeah, it's a great show, and one of the things that I do love about this, especially with Kiva, is as much as she's a fish out of water, just in the fact that she comes from the future and she has to live in the 21st century, is the fact that Coop and Jamie are shown to be aloof and lazy and just want to play video games all the time, and Coop occasionally wants to work on cars. They're portrayed as very lazy individuals, whereas for Kiva, she's a soldier. Everything about what she wants is to destroy the Glorf in the future so that she can prevent like the big destruction of Earth.
And she's
But, like,
always wearing her armor.
She's always wearing her armor, except for like one episode where they make her change her clothes.
Well, she chooses to get some clothes to blend in.
Yeah.
Halfway through the show, and about episode 7, she finds a costume. Or she changes her clothes, like puts on some more modern clothes, but Jamie just messes with her, and then they never address it again in the rest of the series.
Yeah, well, I mean, the show is episodic by nature.
They get very episodic, where like things get destroyed, and then the next episode they're fine.
Do you mean like New Jersey?
New Jersey and his garage.
Yeah,
every time Vegas leaves, he just blows right out of it. And he lives at his mom's house, but it also could be his personal garage that he has attached to his mom, because it's not attached.
It's not attached to the house; it's just on the property.
Yeah, so he may have, but I mean, it
still doesn't justify it.
Yeah, it's still absolutely. That's one of the things I love, especially when he first introduces Jamie to the robot. You can see him working on the hot rod, and he's just tuning up the engine,
Yeah.
and then it just comes out of like an elevator and just blows up the building. And that's one of my favorite parts. It's just all the like just wanton destruction. And then there's that episode where the Zorps, they're called the S-Force, and they show up because they're told about all the wanton destruction. They're sent by like a Zordon like being.
Yeah.
And they're totally making fun of this really old 80s anime.
Yes, it's called G-Force Guardians of Space. I think it's from the 80s or so. It's a really old school, like it's in the same vein as like Voltron, Power Rangers. It's a team of teenagers that ride individual robots that form together to create
cooler robots.
The Super Mecha Zorp Droid or whatever they call it.
Yeah, it has a long name, and Coop and Jamie and like that. They laugh at him. They like laugh hysterically at them. And then eventually, after Coop beats them up, and then their villain shows up. And Coop's like, oh, I'm low on energy because of the fight he had, but he just puts them on the robots on that they have but after he it shows them to do a great deal of damage to him when he's putting his arms in them and his feet in them.
Yeah, you see like the thing.
And then later on, all of a sudden, it's just perfectly fit, and it's like they were designed to attach to Megas. And then after he defeats Ender is the guy's name. After they defeat him, which his motivations are hilarious. He just wants to conquer everything and then destroy everything. Or destroy everything then conquer it. After he defeats Ender by creating a black hole, which they call
it's not a black hole.
Yeah.
What he creates is I forget what it's called, but it's not a black hole.
But it really is functionally a black hole. They have the wrong science words and physics for a lot of the stuff, which being like nerd,
absolutely,
makes it extra hilarious. Sometimes it's intentional they're doing it badly. Other times they were just using sciencey words to sound sciencey.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was intentional the whole time.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't put it past them.
But yeah, he creates a black hole, sucks up Ender, and then they're like, "Oh, well, this is the most powerful weapon. There's no way we can stop it." And he's like, "Wait, overeating," and then he just shoots another one, and they eat each other, and it's just like,
yeah.
Just the amount of silly stuff and how he comes to these conclusions. It makes it so satisfying and hilarious, and in a way, like it creates this believability in a world that is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Oh my god. There's an episode with Bruce Campbell, the second episode of the show. Bruce Campbell is a giant Bruce Campbell head who's an egotistical being. They ripped the character straight out of Marvel, Thor. Thor Ragnarok for a more modern character, but he kidnaps Coop to force him to fight in a Coliseum battles, and he wants him to eventually throw it loose so he can make a bunch of money because he won't lose. And then Coop refuses to throw the match,
which I actually like that about Coop's character. Like
he's super competitive.
Well, not only is he super competitive, but he's driven to win.
Yeah,
because on some level, he understands, especially for most of his fights, he understands that if he runs away, if he gives up, things are going to get far worse than if he fights.
Yeah.
Yes, he's putting himself at risk.
And destroying New Jersey.
Every day.
And then he destroys the giant ancient space library. Because for some reason...
Libraries are bad luck for him. Even though he did so well that whole episode, got rid of all the monsters and saved the library, and is like, see, you can trust me.
Dominoes, the whole ring. It's
I told you. Just, I love how like even when he does things right, he still destroys everything because it's just in his nature to destroy everything. Why I love the S-Force thinking he's a villain. It makes sense.
Yeah, until the end where they're like, "Oh, this guy isn't a villain. We'll work with you any day," and then they're all messed up.
Yeah, then he gave them filters, and now they're like two of them are like two of them are overeating. One of them is only playing video games. The other's now smashing through things, and they're sort of characters like this. The most powerful fighting force in space, utterly destroyed. The show is so fun. It's just,
And the theme song,
I love the theme song.
So
the theme song is
incredible.
the best ever. I really wish we were allowed to play it. Like, I really do. But just know, there's a lot of love for robots from everybody. Everybody loves giant robots.
yeah, just look it up. You'll not only find like 17 billion of the actual recording that people have put on like YouTube and whatnot, but there are bands that'll perform shows with that song of all sorts of different versions.
Yeah, that I think is super cool. That is one of the things I love about this show is just like the sort of cult following it's gotten since it came out.
Oh yeah,
It is just outstanding.
well, and there's even people that have like tried to make petitions and bring Megas back and make fake live action trailers and all sorts of really crazy stuff.
And some of those live action trailers, just to the side, are out of this world awesome.
Yeah,
I've seen some of them. They're like, can we throw money at that? Please?
Yeah.
Can we please throw money at that?
I would absolutely love it. And all the people who were voices, Clancy Brown is the voice of the leader of the Clorps. Yeah. Clancy Brown was the Kurgan from Highlander. And he does a lot of voices for villains in TV shows. He like in cartoons and stuff. He's such a talented guy. But I just wanted to make a little mention of that. I don't like none of the other people I really recognized. All the other voice actors, but I knew Clancy Brown as soon as I heard him. Even though it's like,
it's Clancy Brown. Like,
better burn up than fade away. Highlander.
And I'm actually one of the things I will say that I didn't know for the longest time, because for the longest time you couldn't find this show anywhere. It wasn't licensed. No one was selling copies of it. You couldn't. At least not legally speaking. You couldn't buy this. You couldn't stream this off of any legal source. But actually, when we were talking about what we wanted to do for this month and wanted to do Megas, we went looking to see if we could find it. And it actually turns out that you can buy this on the Apple Store, both seasons, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, and
mind you, this isn't sponsored by them. I think it's very cool that it's finally legally available. Yeah, that's all I'm commenting about.
And I promise you, if you try and find this illegally, it is very, very, very difficult. And you have to go through a lot of things. And there's a lot of, like...
It's not worth it.
It's a lot of trouble to try and find it where you're, like, just diving through the internet trying to find some source of it. Like, whoever has the rights to this won't let anybody watch it. Even though they don't...
Now they do by...
Apple Store, yes.
Apple Store.
But I would love to have a hard copy of this, even the whole series, because it's 24 episodes, this whole series. One season is 12 or 13 episodes.
Season 1 is 13, and I believe season 2 is either 12 or 13. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, but there's like...
It's like 25 episodes, I think.
Yeah, the show is...
In total. It's not that long.
And the second season is even better.
Yeah, so much more fun. It just continuously gets better. I low-key wish they'd bring this back as a reboot, but at the same time, I kind of hope they never do. I love this show. I and I really don't, like, part of me wants a reboot just because I kind of want to see it in, like, high def. Like,
higher quality, but the thing is it has to have that charm.
Yeah, which I don't think it would have.
The only people I would trust would be someone like Studio Bones or a company that has nothing to writ, like, because... Like Netflix,
Studio Bones or even Mappa, I would say would
Mappa.
Would be outstanding for, especially on the visual scale.
Well, yeah, Well, and they actually, like, for, like, Skate the Infinity, that dialogue, even though the show is one of those sports
It's actually very good, yeah.
it's good dialogue, and it doesn't have a lot of that cliche stuff like, oh my god, he's doing a duck and under.
Yeah.
How do I climb this rock? Like,
Yeah.
why do I need that pointless internal monologue?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, it was in the manga. I can see it by their face looking like they have to poop. That's their favorite thing about sports anime is the poop face. They always look like they're on a time. and mecha animes have that too.
Except for this one.
Yeah.
One doesn't have.
He's always just loving every minute of what he's doing, or he's getting mad that they're damaging his robot.
He's always mad that they're.
Like,
I love his rants every time, like, a series of things go wrong. I want to say, like, half the time when he does his rants, he's right. They did everything wrong. And the other half of the time, Coop did everything wrong, but blames, you destroyed my giant robot. Or, no, sorry. It's, you made me miss my show. You made me do this. Coop, you
I'm just trying to watch some WrestleMania or whatever it is.
Coop, that's your fault. Coop, I'm on a roll here.
Yeah, that's where Jamie.
Where was I?
That's where Jamie really, where he's a likable character. He's him and Kiva, but he often is usually the one because he's the stick in the mud. He's the sourpuss.
Yeah.
That's part of his character. So he always is trying to bring Coop down. So he's always pointing out like the obvious, like, you're not, like, you're
the reason all of this went wrong, not them.
Yeah, unless he had some part of it, then he will not take any blame or admit anything.
No, in fact, what he'll do is he'll turn it, like, if he convinced Coop to do something, like, oh, this will be a great idea. The second it goes wrong and Kiva gets mad, I told him not to do it.
Yeah. And they're like, one time, but the great thing is he gets his comeuppance. Like, there's an episode where he accidentally knocks Kiva out with a bat. And when she finds out he accidentally knocked her out with a bat and it wasn't the monsters that she was having to fight, she beats him mercilessly.
Yeah.
It's all like she jumps up on him and strangling him and punching him. And
yeah. She's bad.
So much about the show that's like, and like, to get a sense of the humor of this, there's a little off-kilter joke that has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. He's sitting in his car because he drives his giant robot around like it's a car.
Yeah.
Like, he goes through town and it gets towed away in one episode. But there's an episode where a lady parks next to his giant robot, opens the door and dings the foot of Megas. And he's up like 5 stories and notices that she did this. And then when she gets out and walks away, because she just kind of pretends that it didn't happen, he just crushes her car, and that's it. Like, that's the whole joke. Like, that's just a senseless. That's one of the senseless humor that they throw in there.
Or there's a time like there's another one where they're trying to find a particular. It's not Slurpee,
but it's slushy.
It's slushy. That's what it is. There's an episode where they're trying to find a very particular slushy because it's a special deal or whatever. And because it's so hot outside, that's what it is. It's sweltering. And his robot can fly. But the joke for that show is it's too hot to do that. It's too hot to fly to. So he gets himself stuck in dead stop traffic.
Bumper to bumper traffic.
Bumper to bumper traffic. Trying to get this. When he could just, like, fly there in 2 seconds.
Doesn't Kiva even mention why don't we fly there?
But his comment is it's too hot to do that.
The
whole episode is about him trying to get a slushy because some immortal robot shows up that keeps regenerating itself. Then he puts all of New Jersey into just
ruins
and not technically a nuclear winter because a nuclear bomb didn't go off, but the exhaust from the robot ends up filling the sky because they find out the robot's like solar powered, and
it's the only time the robot that Megas has exhaust.
Yeah, but it creates an exhaust fumes into the air, so much so that there is a comment near the end of the episode where it will take 3 months for the sun to finally burn through all of it.
There's so much about the show that I absolutely did love. And it's just all the little episodic things, and just how likable the characters are, and how fun everything is. The villains are great. Every time anyone tries to do anything heroic, even Coop, it never goes as you would expect. And like, especially if it isn't Coop, it's absolutely disastrous when anything. Like, there's an episode to where he's at like a car competition, and all the other car people come to help him fight the Glorf to show up and wreck the competition. And they all just drive their cars into 30-story robots, and you're like. And you're wondering what's going to happen, and then they just swat them all aside.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk anymore, give any more spoilers away, because I just go watch this show. It is absolutely epic. It is worth every single minute that you spend on it. I never skipped the intro ever either. I love it because it's only a minute long, and that song is so awesome.
It's so fun. Yeah,
so good.
And I agree with you. We could talk about this endlessly, and that's just season 1. That's not even getting into season 2. Yeah. But yeah, ultimately, in terms of should you watch this or should you not, go watch it. Why haven't you?
Yeah, it's a great show. Oh, one little side note: I did a little research because I wanted to figure out why it was canceled. And everyone said it had low ratings. I kind of believe it had low ratings because Toonami, especially in 2004, was at a waning point.
I believe at that time it had low ratings. I agree with that.
Yes. But I really believe it wasn't really the low ratings as much as they couldn't market it. They wouldn't market it, and they couldn't market the toys and stuff. Like, even though, like, and I was a little too old for the toy, if there were toys, I would have been a little too old for them.
I still would have gotten them.
Yeah. If I can find a robot Megas, I'll probably get that. But other than that, just go watch it. There's all sorts of ways you can watch it if you want to jump through some hoops, or you can spend $10 or $20 on the Apple Store, where we found it the easiest.
Yeah.
Or a lot
and I think I think doing the Apple Store is a better way because it's a cleaner definition too.
Yeah, and whoever has the rights to
and you're supporting it.
You're supporting it. And like anyone who if you fall in love with the show like us, get in on like telling them to make more.
Yes.
Even though it'll probably be trash. Sometimes Cobra Kai I enjoyed greatly.
Cobra Kai is fantastic.
It's an awesome show.
But that'll be it for us. So we hope you enjoyed that as much as we love talking about it. If you did, let us know your thoughts on Megas down in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon.
If you enjoy gaming, check us out on Twitch. And for channel updates, follow us on Twitter. The links are down below.